I know that there's so much freedom in following our true desires and stopping the self-doubt and disrupting the limiting beliefs and building the muscle of our truth, remembering our truth and building the muscle of being our own cheerleader, of like doing the damn thing because we don't know what's possible and we don't know what the pathway is going to look like. But when you step into your power and you claim it and you own it, trust is going to be freaking magical. And I believe in dreams again. And I believe that love will never end. And like the river finds the sea, I was lost. Now I'm free, 'cause I believe in you and me. Woo, y'all. The power of belief, that's what it's all about today in this episode. And I'm excited that you're here and I'm glad that you're tuning in. Hello and welcome to the Unlock Lab. This is your host, Tosca DiMatteo. Today is episode number 36, and we're talking about one of our inner critics that is all about limiting beliefs. Now, in reality, all of our inner critics have limiting beliefs in some way, shape, or form, but I wanted to give a special episode to talk about limiting beliefs because it's so intricately tied to the inner critic topic. So I'm excited to dive in, but before I do, let me just pause. If you're new to the podcast, welcome. I am so glad you're here. I am a keynote speaker and a facilitator of conversations at the very intersection of personal growth and professional breakthroughs. If you want to learn more about what I do and how I can help you or your teams, please visit CoachTosca.com. That's Coach, Tosca.com. All right, so look, here it is. It's mid-October. I'm in Brooklyn. The weather just turned colder today. I've got a sweater on, and no, I do not love sweater weather. But I digress. I'm really excited because I'm just a week out from giving a new keynote talk on influencing change. And this month, I'm publishing a newsletter around limiting beliefs. And I just wanted to bring it to life a little bit more for you right now, because literally I have been through the road and back in terms of holding myself back because of limiting beliefs. So I want to give this a little bit of breathing room because really limiting beliefs come part and parcel with every inner critic that we have. But I just wanted to dive in a little bit deeper to help you see where you might have limiting beliefs that you didn't even realize. Limiting beliefs force us into boxes. They can prevent us from taking action. They limit our view. They make us think that there's only one way to do things, and they stop us from even starting. One story that comes up really quickly in my mind, even as I'm opening this up, is about a year ago, I attended a speaker coaching program. It was one of these things that were free, and it was like a lead magnet to sign up for their very, very expensive program. Now, this program is really good, right? Like I learned a lot of things, I was inspired, and I got really, really excited about my speaking career. And at the end, they, share the pitch and the selling of their big program. And I mean thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars, right? And I just immediately got really emotional, like literally like tears in eyes. I was telling myself that I'm not going to be a successful speaker if I don't do this program. I was telling myself, oh my God, if I don't do this program, that means I'm not serious. That means I'm not going to be the best I possibly can be. And this is crazy. I just wasn't in a position at that time to invest that level into my training. But here is the truth. The truth is that I didn't need that program to do what I wanted to do. I didn't need that program to be a speaker. Would it have helped? Sure. Was it going to be the thing that unlocked all my potential and my exponential growth? I don't know, maybe, but I was telling myself a story that wasn't true. Like I was telling myself that oh my gosh, I need this thing. This thing is the answer. And that was a very limiting way of looking at what was possible for myself and what I truly, truly needed. Because let me tell you, the only thing I really needed is myself and my passion and my stories and my raw talent. I didn't need to have a fancy program to further validate my speaking. I didn't need it, right? There's a difference between like needing the thing and like it's a luxury, right? Because the truth is, it would have been a luxury to do a program like that. I digress, right? The point being that for me, like that experience, like it really turned physical really, really quickly. It was in the drive home from that program that I had to unpack why it made me feel so emotional. Like I didn't even know what I was thinking or saying to myself. But I realized, oh, it was this limiting belief about what I had to do at a time when I didn't think I even could financially, right? So there's these deeply embedded unconscious things that happen because of these really sneaky limiting beliefs that we have. Now, I have a lot of limiting beliefs in my life, and I've had to unravel a lot of them. And a really, really big one that I talk about in my newsletter this month is about what I thought that it meant about my life and about my career because I looked different, because I didn't have like the natural quote unquote beauty standard going for me in the pursuit of my dreams. Now, I've had to do a lot of work on this. I'm not going to unpack it all in this podcast. But what I will say is, after I quit my corporate job in 2018, I realized that I had to rewire myself and stay open to what was possible for my life and my career. And I remember one of the very first mantras that I started telling myself was, it's all possible. In fact, if you look at a lot of my Instagram posts, especially early on, I think I've kind of dropped it, but I want to bring it back, was like this it's all possible hashtag. Because I knew I had to somehow unlearn what I thought my career had to be. And you know what? Part of that was because I thought I had to have a corporate career because I have a chronic illness that needs medication like daily for me to actually live. And so one of my limiting beliefs in my life was that I needed consistency in order to make sure I had the healthcare that I needed. And the truth is that there are many different ways that I can get the needs met, whether that's I'm buying it myself as an entrepreneur, whether I allow myself to rely on my husband's choices for healthcare, and on, right? There's probably some other options in there. But for a long time, I felt like I had to do the corporate thing because this was the way and this was the only way. And see, that's what a limiting belief does. It tells you, well, this is the only way, right? That's one way that it can manifest. That limiting belief sounds like the inner critic knows exactly what's possible and what's not. And that's the indication that it's telling you lies, because nobody knows what's friggin' possible, right? So it can sound like, oh, you're going to have to do these exact things if you want to reach your goal. It may look like, oh, you got to be on social media this many times a day, this many days a week. You have to be on X, Y, and Z channels. It might be, oh, you're going to have to invest X dollars into your business if you want to get it off the ground. Oh, it might even sound like you're going to have to write a book if you really want to build a strong speaking career, right? And another real life example for me is like I had a limiting belief at one point about this podcast, which was, oh my gosh, it's going to be so much time and energy. It's going to be expensive. And I was telling myself all these things when I hadn't actually done all the research and I hadn't really considered what could be possible in terms of how this podcast came to life, how it get published, all the good things, right? Because a lot of times we'll just let this limiting belief run the roost without actually taking some steps to prove that it's telling you a lie. And so that's one of the things that you can do, which is like, all right, if you're telling yourself a limiting belief, look for all the evidence to show that that's actually a lie or that it's not true. That's one way that you can combat it. One of the moments that are really vivid in my mind about how freeing life is when you've done the work to eliminate the limiting beliefs or allow them to be really, really quiet, like not even a whisper in your life, is when I actually submitted the application for the keynote that I'm giving next week. Like I had to create a whole new description because this was a new topic for me around influencing change. And I did the work, like I spent days excavating how I felt about this topic, influencing change, and what I had to say about it. And sure, and I even like had a couple friends take a look at the description and give me some great feedback. And when I submitted, it was like my whole body knew this is it. I'm getting this. And it was a really new experience for me because I didn't have the doubt. It was just this I've got this. And sometimes I think people talk about faking it till you make it. I don't believe in that. But I think what that moment was an output of all the work I had done on myself to ensure that the first thing that didn't come up in my mind was the self-doubt. The first thing that came up in my mind was, this is square in my passion. This is exactly what I want to do. And I've got this. And you know what? That doesn't happen overnight. I don't want to make it sound like this easy thing. I don't want to make it sound like I just decided to believe it and think it. It is something you have to deeply embed in your bones to have self belief, but perhaps even bigger than that, to have belief in something bigger than yourself. And this year, I didn't have my word of the year. I always pick a word of the year and I usually try to have it. Sometimes I have it even like in December. Sometimes I have it in January. This year, I really didn't have it until like 5 or 6 months in. And that word was believe. And that word is not just about believing in myself. It's believing I'm not alone in what I'm trying to do. It's believing in something greater than myself, in a higher source, in a higher power, whatever you want to call it, belief in the universe, that the universe has my back, all the things. But this has been a journey, y'all. This has been a development to say, you know what? I get to believe in myself. I get to drop the self-doubt and really believe it and not have it be just a mindset shift for the moment. But I get to say, I believe in me. I believe in my skill set. I believe that I'm on my path. I believe that I am taking the immediate best next step that I know how to take. And I trust it. And that's what I want for you. I want you to get to that point where when you hear a limiting belief in your own mind, or when you hear one from the outside, you can zap that son of a bitch right away, and not give it a fucking moment to breathe. Pardon my French, y'all, but I can't. I can't because we can live small lives. We can live small lives if we don't allow ourselves to believe in ourselves really, really, and truly. And I watch a lot of the, inspirational things on Instagram and I look at the celebs that have like done big things, that have overcome major hurdles. And so often they talk about, I believed in me. That was it. What is it? Who was it? I think Snoop Dogg has, a famous meme and it's like, I'd like to thank myself. Yes. I love it. But you get my point, right? That limiting beliefs, it can look like, oh, you got to get a new job. It's going to take you 6 months. Like, just expect that. Like that's a limiting belief about what it's going to look like. A limiting belief is like, oh my God, the job search is going to be such a slog. Well, maybe if you calling it in to be a slog, it will be a slog. But that's a limiting belief about what the journeys can look like for us on our path to the destinations that we believe so strongly in. What are you telling yourself? Oh, I'm not going to be able to write that book until I quit my job. Is that true? Probably not. You can write a book while you're working your job, but we tell ourselves all these things about what's possible and what's not. And part of it is self protection. And part of it, I think, is overwhelm, and just contributing to our inaction and actually contributing to our bias of not wanting to do the hard thing, right? To like get over ourselves. It's like this, like a limiting belief can kind of be like the vine that grows on trees, right? It might look pretty, but what it's actually doing, that vine is stealing all the nutrients from the tree and it's weakening the tree such that when there's a big storm, because that vine has been growing for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, that tree isn't going to make that big storm. It's not going to survive it because it's been depleted. And that's what limiting beliefs are. It's like that ivy that's like just weakening your resolve and your determination and your grit. So we got to cut that ivy out. We got to cut it at the root. cut it at the bottom of the tree, cut it off. Don't give it another ounce of energy and start realizing how powerful you are. You got to start realizing how you can make anything happen. Everything is possible because we don't have any idea what is possible, not in our tiny little brains. We can't imagine. I couldn't have ever imagined living in Brooklyn in my 20s. I couldn't have imagined that for myself. I couldn't have imagined finding my husband and being married to him and being together for the past 20 years. I couldn't have imagined that when I was 16, right? But here we are. And I'm sure you have those stories too. What is present in your life that you couldn't have imagined or that maybe once you had a limiting belief about, and now look at you. You're doing the thing. You have the thing. You're working on the things. So I just hope that this episode gives you pause to really take stock of what you're telling yourself. That's not true. That's a limiting belief. When I first had the inkling that I wanted to do some speaking, I told myself it was going to be hard. Oh, that's a process. It's so freaking competitive. Everybody and their brother wants to be a speaker. Like it's just going to be hard to find opportunities, let alone big opportunities, right? I told myself this for several years and like a lot of it was just really like sneaky under the rug stuff until, I really woke up and realized, wow, I'm doing that thing. And I'm denying what I actually want because I'm telling myself a story about it. And then I looked at the truth of all the hard things I've done that I really wanted and I was able to get there. Like it was really hard to get into an MBA program and I did the thing. Like it was really hard to land a job with Unilever, one of the top CPG companies in the world. I did the thing. And if I listened to my limiting beliefs along the way, I wouldn't have done those things. I even had like recruiters tell me, like I was at Kimberly Clark right out of grad school, and I knew I wanted to make it to the East Coast, and I knew I wanted to go to Unilever was like my, whoa, shining star, like North Compass for like where I wanted to land. And I had one recruiter say, oh, well, going from Kimberly Clark to Unilever, like, yeah, you're going to need to set your sights somewhere else because that's not really going to be possible. Like WTF, right? This guy was planting that seed in me. And at that time, I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not going to let you tell me what's possible. Let me show you. And I did the thing, because I was so determined and I was so determined to actually prove him wrong, right? As part of my motivation, but also my motivation should be like, no, like I'm worthy. I've done the things, I've taken the steps. I can get that job too. Look at where I am now. Why can't I? Look at all the history. Look at all the success patterns that I have in my belt to remind myself, ooh, yeah, I can do the things. Or even like, ooh, yeah, like the way that I thought that journey was going to look. Actually, that's not what ended up happening. Same thing with the speaking. When I claimed it and I owned it for myself that like, yes, I'm going to do a speaking. Wow, opportunities. It was like a miracle. It really did. It felt magical. The opportunities came in really fast and great opportunities. And that was like an indication to me of like, ooh, wow, yeah, it was like validation. Yeah, like this is the thing. This is the path. Gosh, I'm so fired up about this because I know that there's so much freedom in following our true desires and stopping the self-doubt and disrupting the limiting beliefs and building the muscle of our truth, remembering our truth and building the muscle of being our own cheerleader, of like doing the damn thing because we don't know what's possible and we don't know what the pathway is going to look like. So I'm cheering you on for whatever that thing is that's coming up for you right now and you're listening to me. Go do the thing. Like, let me know how it goes. Let me know if it goes how you expect or completely different. But when you step into your power and you claim it and you own it, trust is going to be freaking magical. And I can't wait to hear about it. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm really fired up. I'm excited for you. I'm excited for fall, the leaves changing, like transformation. This is like my season. I love summer, but like fall is transformation season. And so I just get really fired up about it. So I hope that you see this fall as your opening too for transformation, as your opening to leave the limiting beliefs behind and start building your belief and your trust in yourself and what is meant for you. All right. I love you so much. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, I'm just going to ask you, please like, rate, review on whatever platform you're on. It would mean a lot. It helps me to see that, like, hey, my message is getting out there. And thank you as well for stepping into your power in a bigger way today than you did yesterday. I appreciate you. I love you. And I'll see you next time. So ciao for now.